Okay, so we move on, and I would like you to welcome to the stage Mr. Elysius Gordon Katikiro from the University of Zimbabwe.
That is Swahili, but I'm presenting in English. Habari zenu means how are you? The response is nzuri. At least you can take that for today. So habari zenu. Sasa. My name is Katikiro from the University of Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, but currently in the University of Zimbabwe, teaching Swahili. Yeah. My topic, as it reads, Reclaiming and Recovering African Cultural Identity in Dictionary Design, the case of pictorial illustrations in Swahili monolingual dictionaries. Yeah, I may start to say that my article also answers the question that was posed by Dr. Mberi, that the position maybe of denying our things could be partly the politicians, but I would say no, we are also dancers of the game, because I'm referring to Swahili dictionaries, the dictionaries that are made by indigenous, but still we experience kind of issues which we ourselves, we perpetuate, we worship the Western kind of culture while we deny ourselves. I'm looking at this pedagogically, that my presentation is trying to look at the tools, the devices that are used to let down ourselves, our culture, turn down our culture, deny ourselves, just consider ourselves, our things, nothing except those which are in the Western. So the key terms are a dictionary, then how is it related to culture, language, and pictorial illustrations. The dictionary, anyway, I will not talk much. It's not that, it's just listing the words, giving the meaning, etc. Information that a dictionary user is looking for in the dictionary, so that you get to know the words and their meaning, but also there are issues of illustration. I think that's where my focus is. Illustration, pictorial illustration. These are pictures, images that you use in a dictionary to clarify the meaning of the word. I'm using just a simple language because it's also a field of lexicography. We are not here, we are talking about dictionary with the words. So pictorial illustrations are used in the dictionaries just to help the dictionary compiler to make sure that the meaning of the word are really clear to the user. Remove all the confusion, remove all the meaning distortion, where the concept could be a little bit tricky or hard to distinguish. How dictionary is related to language and culture. Yes, we know the language that carries words. We express our culture through the words. So the language is really a tool that is embodied with the culture of a certain society. And then when we write a dictionary, that means a dictionary is also a tool that may teach the generations about their culture through the words that they read from the dictionary. And then that's how the dictionary reads the culture but a dictionary, when it's being written, it also uses illustrations, as I said. But the illustrations that we find in the dictionaries, they also depict the environment, our advancement, our experiences, our technological activities. Like I remember when, I think there was one presenter who was presenting on chemistry things, the way he linked the chemistry to whatever about iron smelters and whatever. You see, like those images that about the furnace, you see, it was there, an African experience. We had iron smelters in Northern Egypt, whatever. But now they have made the modern one, in the modern world that they call themselves so. Now they think they invented, while the thing was here before. And it also depicts our environment, our activities, our technology. If we include images in a dictionary, and we just use the modern image, we don't use our own traditional image as well, which were there in the previous. With our generations, our kids get to know that we had our own technology. Would this be possible? This is where I'm coming in, that pictorial illustrations in dictionaries also should be selected carefully, so that we keep and reserve our environment. Our knowledge should also be able to tell the history of our society. Now you can move up to the first peak. This one. This is the dictionary, which was unfortunately compiled by the Institute of Kiswahili at the University of Dar, and in collaboration with the Oxford. But experts or lexicographers, dictionary compilers, they are the indigenous, the Swahili speakers. There's no any white here apart from the Oxford company that is facilitating in terms of funding. But the compilers, they went on including that picture, that is a village. African village. So my word is, when you include this kind of a picture, you see here in a dictionary, and it's meant for learners. You see here, a village. Are you not making this kid who is using this dictionary, or any person that is using this dictionary, to feel inferior?
Yes.
Because in his own experience, he doesn't live in such kind of a village.
Right.
He has even never seen it. What kind of thinking will come to the mind of this African child? The roads, the services, whatever. Let's go to the other one. The other image. You are talking about weapons. It's also here. Where are the bows and arrows? Where are the machetes? Where are the axes? Where are the machetes? Where are the clubs, the killing clubs? Has he even ever seen this thing? Because some, they don't even own the TV. What kind of a world are you creating into this? Let's move to another image. Now, how would you compare this of the weapons if you were to choose? Maybe you are given two, the first one and this one, regarding the weapons. Which one would you say at least this one is somehow okay? Because at least it contains something that you can imagine. You see something like this. You see that thing. You see this one. Then you can think that at least, even then, the meaning that you are trying to construct to this learner or the one who is using it can make sense what his weapon means. Okay? Now you are saying that is a house. I have not seen the traditional African houses, which are also thematic. They are embodied with certain themes, meaning, the round, the cycling. This is a house in a dictionary. And it's a story house. You are talking about having a toilet in the house. You live with, can't mention it. You are talking about bathroom in the house. What kind of a house in an African environment? How many people have such kind of? Will the term house make sense? Or that's where we go, maybe in Africa there are no houses, they're just huts. So that's what the kid will get to know. This is the house who was shown. Well, yes, you are talking about targeting and ranking. Well, poor, that extent, even when we started from hunting, there are so many activities we are doing, and now you are talking about the ranging and whatever, targeting only guns. But again, no. There's no even a bow and an arrow a hunter is trying to target, You are just talking about the guns, the whatever thing that's targeted. So we are poor in terms of why this is coming. We are the dancers, we are the worshippers, we are. I don't think if someone has contracted me, will force me in terms of deciding what image I should include to make sense to them. After all, they need to be advised if this is what is real visible. To whom are you writing for? Because now we are writing for the Europeans who will be learning Swahili. We are not focusing on our own, we are focusing on them. We start thinking from Western. We even forget our home. Why this situation? I quoted this Professor Mrokos. It says the rise of a predatorial, non-patriotic Anglophile bourgeoisie that is bent on enriching itself at the expense of the national interest. The erosion of self-confidence, it has been said by the previous speakers, among Tanzanians, especially the youth and the elite, leading to a service of a slavish, aping mentality and practice known in Swahili as kasumba. You also noted about that people already have the will, which is eating the whole brain. They have no thought. Kasumba, which has been more or less successful combated in the 1960s. You remember our president, the father of the nation, Mwalimu Nyerere. He did a bit, but I think we are almost going back to where we came from. All goes on saying that these factors have encouraged admiration and worship of foreign things, including the huge Japanese cars known as shangis and foreign cultural manifestations, including music, cinemas, and videos, dress, technology, and languages. These are the tools they use to erode everything from our head. So we perpetuate their tradition, their cultural, whatever aspect. We are the target. Concomitantly, they have led to rejection, or we feel like we are being ashamed of one's African traits and practices, including skin color and hair, beliefs, religion, language, names, and music. Also, to add more, Asante also observed that Africans had denied, lost, or given away agents in order to become different from our historical selves, like the black women who sit for hours and they start getting their hair straightened, the painful process. Cruz says that we have become victims of the worst from our cultural propaganda. This is the problem. We are oriented to deny what we have, which is good. Our identity, our history is gone. But it's a target, it's a process, it's a project. Yeah, there's that of this is confusion. Our dictionary now represents the Eurocentric culture through pictorial illustration than that of ours. For example, in teaching the young generation of Africa, how would this dictionary help an African child get the concept of house, weapons, village, and the like? What to be done? We should think everything in African perspective. We've got different professions here. That's why I was proud of the chemist guy. He thought something, from his angle, from his discipline. I'm thinking on mine from a lexicographical point of view. An agriculturalist can also think from that point. The farmer also, maybe all people with different careers should think first, how can we Africanize our stuff? We can also move ahead to get to know the other thing, but how should we start from our own environment? This is what has been a problem, and the people are desperate to the world, but we need to change. We are all responsible. We are all responsible, and sometimes we do it consciously or unconsciously. This is when the head is moving this way, and then the legs are going to the other side. Thank you very much.
So, thank you very much, Professor Katikiro. We're going to move on to our next speaker, who is from the Mbira Center in Zimbabwe. And I would like to call Mr. Albert Chimeza. So, welcome.
Good afternoon, all those who are visiting from Zimbabwe. Must I say, between how they spend the night. What I'm going to talk about is really about intellectual capital. When I was invited to give a talk here, I noticed that it was quite strong that some of our ideas are being taken away. Some of them are being stolen. No, I'm not going to lie. Some of them we're actually allowing to be stolen. So a lot of the theft that's happened is partly that people came and took things, but part of it is because of our miseducation. We've allowed things to go. This instrument is called a Mbira. It's handmade. It's been made in this country for between 9,000 and maybe older than 1,000 years. It's got a musical repertoire that's that long. It's used in for secular performances, and it's also used in ritual practice. In ritual practice, it's used to induce trances. A lot of scholars from all over the world, since the 60s, no, since the 20s, have been documenting this instrument. They've been recording it, building huge archives. The largest archives of this instrument are not in Zimbabwe. The largest archives are in Grahamstown, in California, there's I think it's called Wesleyan College, maybe. They also have a large archive. UCLA has got a large archive of this music. There are quite a few, I know at least 3 or 4 private individuals who've invested money to come here for 30, 40 years to record this instrument and to learn to play it. The biggest financial beneficiaries of this instrument are not Africans. The biggest beneficiary of mbira, which in North America you know is the kalimba, is Hugh Tracy. Hugh Tracy got a grant from a recording company in the 20s. And he recorded all the African music that he could. They gave him a mobile recording studio all the way to the Congo. And he collected a large archive. And when he died, his son took the archive out of here. Well, actually, his story is that he offered it here, but nobody was interested. And finally, the university in Grahamstown offered to house this archive. Out of the archive, they've started making calimbas, which are sold worldwide, from Brazil to Japan to everywhere. They've started making marimbas, which are also being exported, right? Zimbabwe has been independent for 35 years. And one would imagine that at least the Ministry of Culture or the Ministry of Education would do, at least done some research and figured if all these people are interested in this, we should be on to it. Currently, there are probably more mbira players in North America than there are in Zimbabwe. At least on a professional level, you know, trying to do things. And most of them are not African Americans. The reason for this is an accident in history. In the early 60s, there was a man called Professor Kaufman from UCLA. One of the churches in America decided they wanted a foot in Southern Africa. And they noticed that African music was demonized by the Catholic and Anglican churches. So they brought in two specialist musicians to come and study mbira music. By their own admission, on tape, they said that they didn't ask the African musicians what mbira is about. They went to Hugh Tracy, who then made recommendations of who he thought was the best people that should teach them about this music. They did this for 2 years. Then they moved into a teacher training college in Bulawayo called Kwaningoma. And they recruited young music teachers. One of them was Dumisani Maraire, another one was Chris Timber, Alfred Musana. I think Zimbabweans know all these names, they're very famous people. And by an accident, and Kaufman says, we wanted this music to come to North America. And we knew a lot of good mbira players, but we decided on Abraham Maraire because he was young, he was personable, he was bright, and we knew that people would like him. And they moved him to America and took him to Washington State, which in the 60s was probably one of the whitest states. So out of that, there's more than 1,000 marimba and mbira groups in the States. There's been a mbira festival for 15 years going on. There are people earning degrees in mbira. There are people making a living out of mbira. There are people getting professorships out of mbira. And because of where he went, the Black or African American community missed out on this. Simply because of where he went. And over time, the mbira started to be seen as something white people do. And to this day, I would say 99.9, in fact, in all my 20-something years of playing mbira, I've only met one African American lady who was here to learn mbira, and she had a white American boyfriend, and that's how she came, because he wanted to come here. Right? And so I think that some of the way we do things creates certain paths in history. And I think that with a lot of African knowledge, we have this kind of problem. The second, sorry, I'm not a lecturer, I'm not an academic, so I'm not very used to doing this kind of thing, but I'll try my best. So going back to, I was just trying to give you a background of why this instrument is significant. And if you had something European that had this kind of interest, there will be a lot of interest from the government, from investors, from educationists, to make sure it stays in Europe. And in Africa, with the djembe, with the kora, with the marimba, with the balafon, we've fallen in the same trap. If you go to the States or you go to Europe and you go to a music shop, the most expensive djembes are not made in Senegal, Mali, they're made in the States or Japan. Our own police band here has a set of marimbas. They're not locally made, they're made in Japan. And if you play them, they really sound great. And the reason they sound great is not because the Japanese are smarter than us, it's because they put more money and research and investment in the marimba and came out with a product that's very good. What I'm driving at is that, to me, the tragedy of African intelligentsia and African governments and everything is that we talk, but we don't put the money. If you look at any syllabus in Africa, if you look at the amount of money put in black ideas as opposed to Western ideas, there's a very big discrepancy. If you look at the languages department, even within the languages department, I don't know, I'm just speculating. You probably find that Shona gets the least amount of money, and English gets more. Chinese gets more money, right? If you go into any music department, a piano costs 10, 20 times more than a mirror, but there'll be 20 of them, and there probably won't be a mirror. So a lot of the problem we have is not that we don't have the things or that we have the means. It's that we've been so brainwashed, we don't see value in them. And other people see value in them, and they exploit them. And then we turn around and say, let's go from us. But if you go into our house, we got Shakespeare, we got Chopin, we got Haydn, we got even Japanese music and everything, but not one African record. And if you go in a lot of people's homes, they might say, I like African music, but maybe they want DRC and they like DRC music. But if you start to have a discussion about African music, from Cairo to Cape Town, you'll be lucky if there are not 3 or 4 genres of music. My idea is that if you're an African and you're educated, it's all right to speak French and Latin and all that, but I expect you to have visited at least 2 or 3 African countries. You might not have eaten it, but at least know what 3 or 4 other African countries eat, what their customs are, or what they dress like. And this level of ignorance is what's destroying Africans here and in the diaspora. That we actually, the way we educated is such that we know very little about ourselves and about other people like us. Right. So, I didn't grow up playing beer. I do not have any political or spiritual link to the beer, you know. I like the sound, I like the music. And this is always how I approached it, right? And I'm Zimbabwean. And I happen to come from a generation that says that you must do something for your country. And that doesn't mean you have to be a politician. If you're a nurse, be a good nurse. If you're a musician, be a good musician. Whatever you do, like somebody said in the morning, is this good for Africa? Is this good for black people? Right, so for me, Nigeria is very good for Africa. And this is the way I approach it. And I don't see Mbira as a uniquely Zimbabwean instrument. It comes from here, that's its origin. I see it as a musical instrument that's very beautiful, that comes from Africa, that can be shared by anybody, whether African or not. But the responsibility of doing that should be mine, because it comes from my home. I should determine how the world sees something that comes from my home. And this is the way I go about it. Originally, I was very interested in cognition. I'm interested in how we perceive the world and what makes us perceive that way. Because the reality is always the same. The world doesn't change. It's how we see it. So, how we see it determines what we see as being valuable. If we think selling cows and goats to get our child to go to Oxford is what's important, then that's what we'll do. But equally, if we think that maybe it's better for me to buy all those books and keep my child here and make sure I see how he's learning and how he's thinking, then I'll use the same amount of money to do that. So, what I realized was that the Mbira has a lot of potential to create wealth for this country, to resuscitate certain skills that have been passed on for 1,000 years, to capture the music, the rhythms, the patterns that we have, and to move them forward. Because I don't believe, I always laugh with my dear friends, because everybody's into authenticity and playing what my ancestors played. And I go, you guys are living off your ancestors, aren't you bums? You know, some guy sat and composed the song 500 years ago, 800 years ago, and you're still living off it, and you haven't contributed anything. When you start making new songs, influenced by where you come from. But part of a civilization surviving is that it must grow. It must borrow, steal, beg from other civilizations, but it must keep moving. It can't be a museum. It can't be put in a closet and say, this is how we used to be, we should stay like that. So, I figured out that the only way you can do that is by leveraging the same institutional structures that have been used to brainwash us. Because in any African country, the largest budgets you have are defense, health, and education. So this means that that's where most of our money goes into. So most of our African ideas must be in those institutions. If we're spending 70, 80% of our fiscus, right? And we're spending it to teach kids French and German and Western religion and church and Christianity without putting a cent into our own ideas. We're dead, right? And I think that the value of an idea is basically, one, that you recognize that it's valuable. Number two, that you're willing to put money and to develop it, right? So, the world being what it is, most people, all of us in this room, all our formative period is in school. From the time we're 5 to the time we're 18 or 27, depending on what we do, we're in school. So that's the platform that shapes our minds and how we think. So if we want African ideas to go anywhere, we should put them in those institutions that the kids spend their time. The world is changed to a point that the average working class person anywhere in Africa gets up at 4 in the morning to be able to be work at 8. They work. If they're lucky, their wife also gets work because we never get enough. So they're both working. The kids, where are they? At school. Who's shaping their worldview? The teacher. Right? You come home, it's late. If you're lucky, you have time to do homework with your kids, and then you're tired, you gotta get up. So actually, the child rearing, contrary to what we think, is not in the family anymore. It's in the school system. And I think that if we want this job to get done, we have to invade the school system with our ideas so that the kids spend their days learning what we want them to learn in the way that we want them to learn it. So if you want Mbira to be anywhere near, I don't know, Western classical music or Chinese music, you need the kid to start playing this from the time he's 4. Right? And then he needs to go to an academy where they play this, where the best Mbira players in the world are, to teach him and pass on the knowledge with him. And with a lot of African culture, we don't do this. It's something we just assume is going to happen somehow, But we don't put our resources in it, and we don't have at least monetary resources. We're a bit strapped, and we're not putting them in the places that will preserve our own cultural heritage and move it forward. Please let me know if right. I use Mbira as a prototype. Because why Mbira is interesting to me is that there's nothing about making Mbira that you have to learn outside Zimbabwe. The world's Mbira experts are Zimbabweans. The best craftsmen are Zimbabwean, right? So it's a very controlled thing. So you can actually judge how an African idea can move and how far you can move it. Because I don't need anybody outside Zimbabwe to teach me how to make Mbira. Everything I learned to make about Mbira, I learned here. All the best Mbira players I've met here. So you have something that's uniquely African, where you have the body of knowledge, and then all you have to do is invest in it, and also institutionalize it. one of the tragedies of African ideas is that they're not in the institutions that we fight wars for, go to the United Nations for, you know, do SADC or AU, whatever. They're not represented there, and those are the centers of power. So you need your ideas in the centers of power so that you can manipulate how those ideas are presented, how they're developed, and how they're exploited. Unfortunately, we live in a world where monetary value means something. So actually, for a lot of people, until something that's African starts to make money, if they're not politically conscious, but you know, you don't teach to the converted. My philosophy is I don't teach Mira to people who like Mira. I want people who don't like Mira to get to like Mira, right? Otherwise, we're just patting each other on the back. So if you want people who are not Afrocentric to respect African ideas, they must see those ideas producing something physical that changes society in a positive way. The only reason people like jazz and rock and blues and this is that it makes money for the record companies.
Yeah, I have a statement because
I want to hear the music of those other brothers and sisters in other parts of the world expressed through the instrument, just like we do with the guitar. When you hold the guitar, you don't think of Spain. It plays whatever you want, same with the piano. And we have to move our instruments from being ethnographic curiosities. We've done a bit of African, we had some djembe, you know, to actually instruments that people take seriously and can explore intellectually and move things forward. And so I'm not interested, I just say to the brother that I would like, because I went to Tanzania for years back, and we were playing samba. And it's a kind of mirror. And by the way, this principle of a wooden board with metal keys on it is actually universally African. I've seen mirrors from Mali. They might not look like this, but the principle is the same. I've seen them from Uganda, from Tanzania, Ethiopia, Mozambique, South Africa among the vendor, in DRC, in Angola, in Zambia. So it's actually a Pan-African instrument. And there's all this talk of Pan-Africanism, and you haven't made an effort to find cultural things that are that we can relate to. Because I mean, if we agree, we can just, okay, we want to build a syllabus. Part of it is that you should at least know 3 types of beers. Or if you learn one beer, you should at least know songs from 3 cultures that you can play on this instrument. And this is how you internationalize the instrument. And this is how you detribalize the instrument. Because part of the problem with African knowledge is that it's been tribalized. This is a Zulu thing, this is a Venda thing, this is a Shona thing, you know, and we've bought into that. No, it's not a Zulu thing, you know. The Zulus have something unique that we admire that can benefit Africa. The Venda have something that's unique about Africa that we should buy. So we should pan-Africanize our ideas by identifying things in the different African countries that are unique and valuable and make them Pan-African. Then we've detribalized ourselves. And so, for example, here, I'm engaging with the churches. And I say, I want you guys to play church music. I'm not a Christian, but it's important to them, and the only way I can engage with them is if what I do can do what they do. It's the same, we introduced Mbira to my Bereland. At first the guys were a bit like, this is the Shona invention. I said, no, I'm giving you these Mbiras for free. But please, don't play me any Shona music. If you're curious about it, sure, but I expect at the next festival for you guys to play your music on this music. Then it also becomes your instrument. You claim ownership on it because it can do things that are you. So as part of this initiative, what we've done is, as I said, we engaged the churches. We've engaged, the business community is a bit difficult. We're working on it. We've also engaged government. We gave him Mbira to the president. We gave him everything we thought we could give him about what we think about Mbira and what it can do to the economy. We met the Minister of Education and his permanent secretary and his heads of departments. They asked us to donate, to contribute. They're doing a curriculum review process at the moment. And they asked us to prepare a paper to give our recommendations, which we did. This year, we've given, I think, about 23, 25 schools, Mbiras. And then in September, every September, by the way, is Mirror Month. We decided 5 years ago, we're going to have Mirror Month. So you can ask everybody, every September for the whole month, it's Mirror Month. We plus the money, and we're responsible enough to do what we want with the money. But we don't want somebody saying, why don't you do this or that, and if you do this, we'll give you the money. So this is how we've kind of bought our independence. Time is up. Thanks very much. If anybody's got any questions or want to chat in the next 2 days, I'm around and we can talk more about this.
Okay, so we move on with our next and last speaker, not least. I would like to introduce to you a brother of mine, a humble man, which has a lot of qualities. I met him last year in Bahia, and he taught us a lot about the quilombos and the African struggle over there in Brazil. And he will be here. He's here tonight, this evening, to talk to you about the quilombos. So I would like you to welcome Shenuti Swahili out of AI Bahia. And his lecture will be about the educational experience of the quilombos, of the Quilombo Cabula. There you go. So please applaud.
Hot up. I wanna call our ancestral protection and thanks for your warm presentation, brother Amani. And excuse me in advance because my English is a little poor, so probably I will made some mistakes. You'll find some grammatical problems in my presentation. Okay, I will present to you our communitarian work in Salvador, Bahia, Brazil. It's called Quilombo Cabula. It was a preparatory course for university, and the name of the presentation is we speak in our own name the educational experience of Quilombo Cabula. To explain about our organization, I need to talk about the territory where it was done. Our work was based in 2 communities of a region in the center of the Salvador, Bahia, Brazil. This region is called Cabula. There in Cabula was a quilombo. Quilombo, you know, is like the Cimarrones, was African liberated territory in Americas. In Brazil, this territory was called Quilombo or Mucambo. This Quilombo in particular planned to attack the center of Salvador to free the enslaved Africans. In the Christmas Eve of 1826, this Quilombo was betrayal. This was attacked in December 17 of this year, and the leader, Zeferina, was arrested. Zeferina was a black woman, an African woman. Unfortunately, we don't find her name, her African name, just the Portuguese name. But she had 65 years old when she was arrested, and she was arrested with an arrow in the hands, and she was a arrow queen, a leader. Okay? The African presence in this region given us, left us, among other things, the name Kabula. The word Kabula means secret. Probably have origin in the Bantu languages. Okay? This is the name of the region today. It's called Kabula. Currently, the region has important African shrines, Candomblé house. They built a penitentiary complex, a prison in this region, and a state university. I'm taking my graduation in this university, and I grew up in Kabula. The origins of our community work. In the early 20s, the population of African origin in Brazil intensified the struggle for affirmative action. We never had reparations in Brazil until the 20s, the last decade. And were created many black students organizations in many universities for the country, in the country. And our work began in 2003 through the joint of the efforts of the residents of Ngomadeira. Ngomadeira is a community in Kabula. Ngomadeira have a name originally Ngomadeira name was Ngoma. It's a Bantu word to Ngoma, and it was changed to Ngomadeira. It's a Portuguese word, but originally the name was Ngoma. And the students of the Bahia State University, I graduate, I take my degree. Quotas were approved in the same year, and in order to increase the access of our people to university, we established two organizations. A center of the black students that we call Ubuntu. Ubuntu is correct? Ubuntu. And a preparatory course for the university selection exams called Quilombo Kabula. Our intention was to create a virtual cycle. We sought to bring together black young people in university to develop community work in order to put more young black people in university in the prospect to return to the hood and extend to our communitarian work and so on. Okay? The Quilombo Kabula, we call KC, sought to prepare young blacks for entering the university, both academically and politically. Because you know, if you go to the university without a background, a political background, they will kidnap your soul, kidnap your mind. So we receive an ancestral call to do our work. Our daily practice was focused on the accumulation of experience, enhancement of self-esteem, and the strengthening of the solidarity and solid relationships. Sorry, my English is gone. The organization's main goal was political and economic self-determination of the black community and to respond to the ancestral call and the struggle. So we use music, African music, use plays, we do classes about a lot of things. And our principles and foundations was be a grassroots organization, autonomy, and non-partisan character. Because in Brazil, all parties is controlled by white people. So we need to build your own party to occupy the state. And our work is in the beginning, so we don't want parties involved in our work. You get it? Sorry. And our foundations is horizontal relations, circular power. Circular power means everyone have power and everyone sharing power. Okay? And the collective decisions and actions. In the beginning of our work, we established a discipline, a class called Studies in African Bases. Okay, it was in addition to academic training for preparatory examination. We kept on discipline called Studies in African Bases, whose perspective was focused on Africa. We did not know about the Afrocentric paradigm yet, so we trying to find something and we don't know that already exists. Beyond the class, we keep monthly meetings with all teachers and the students to discuss the history and culture of African people in the world. That meeting, in this meeting, we are discussing the history of South Africa and the struggle against the apartheid system, using the starting point of the film Sarafina, the musical. So, okay, come back, please. Stevie Biko was a major influence to us because he's working on the black students, Sobukwe, and all great leaders in the South African struggle. You have a chronology. I don't read everything, but we start few classes in 2003, and the course was established in 2004. We are opening a second group class in another community in Kabula. This community is called Mata Escura. It means dark woods. That's the community where I grew up. And in this community, we have the prison. So we have a lot of problems of the violence, police harassment. Last month, 12 young black people was killed by police, extermination. It's very, very difficult to us in Brazil now, like everywhere for the black people. Okay, our work go on until 2012. And we have total students in all these years, 7 or 9. Orientation was Pan-Africanist, is Pan-Africanist, and at this meeting we were discussing the liberation struggles in Africa, the Pan-Africanism. So we used the hymn of South Africa, reference to Ghana, to Nkrumah, Shigantadjo, Max Garvey, of course, and the Yazintawa. Here, writing power to the black people. So, lessons learned and next steps. The KC was closed in 2012 due to the difficulty of striking a balancing between projects of personal life and the political process. The entire work was done for ourselves. with our money. We don't have projects. We don't take money to foundations. We don't take money off states. It was self-sustaining. But we were young, and we don't realize in the time the need of establish our career or own jobs or own business. And do that, we need to stop the work to set the things right, straight, and come back. We need to, today we understand we need to ensure the sustainability of both the organization of the people on the struggle. And the ancestral call that we received still alive, and we found it reflect in the AI. When I meet the Perama Mazama, the international organizer Dr. Ashant, and brothers and sisters Shanuts, I see, reflect the struggle, the work that we did in our community. And our next step is to resume our educational work. I hope we meet you in our 7th or 8th AI conference, 2 or 3 years or 4 years ahead, to talk about the Afrocentric school that we will create there in Salvador.
All right.
Okay, unity is our aim, victory is our destiny.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much, Shinudi Swahili.
All right.
Like I said earlier, normally we had one last speaker program, which was Shinudi Adama Yosikaure from AI Abidjan in Ivory Coast, but well, he couldn't make it. I cannot give you the exact reasons why, but perhaps we'll have the chance to have him tomorrow or later on. I hope you had all a great day with all our speakers, and we wish to see you tomorrow for the second day of our convention. And I will let our Parat have the last words.
Again, all of us, I want to remind our Shinutis and members of our Supreme Council that we have a meeting tonight behind closed doors. It's an internal meeting. I will let you know, don't go far, I will let you know where we shall meet, but we shall meet soon to discuss our internal business. Our organization is growing, and I would encourage you, if you have a minute, and I hope you will feel the need to do that, to go and check our website, www.dyabukam.com, DYABUKAM. We are truly Pan-African Afrocentric organization, and I would hope that you would consider joining this growing movement, which is about bringing consciousness to African people worldwide, so that together we can move in the same direction and change things, turn things around for our people, because we very much need that. If we don't act on our own behalf, then in the end we only have ourselves to blame for our condition. You are either part of the solution, you are part of the problem. This is what Malcolm X said. So we can sit here forever and cry and complain about how many problems we have, how many of our people have been shot, how many people will be shot tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. We can sit and complain about them being abandoned and the drum, and we can do all of that. Or we can decide to act on it and do the best we can wherever we are, whatever little bit we can contribute to make things, to turn things around. We can do that. We must do that. We have this obligation. We have this responsibility. And we at Afrocentricity International take it extremely seriously. This is our life mission. This is why we came into the world, and this is why we will come back until we make sure, like Nehanda, that next time around we shall win. So I thank you very much for being here. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock. And again, asante sana.